In this mini lesson, we're going to simplify this expression with radicals in it. And we want to get it fully simplified. To do this, just a reminder about what it means to be fully simplified. We can have no perfect square factors under the radical. We can have no fractions under the radical and no radicals in the denominator. All right, so let's start with each, the numerator and the denominator, and see if we can find some perfect square factors. I'm going to start with 48 and just come over. Sometimes when I'm looking for perfect square factors, if I don't know any off the top of my head, I'm going to make a factor tree. So 48, I know I have 2 and 24. 24 is 2 and 12. 12 is, I know, is 4 and 3. All right, when I look at 2 times 4, I know that's 16, which is a perfect square, 4 times 4. And then I have a 3 left over. All right, so when I think about the numerator, I know that's the square root of 16 times 3. Now, x to the 5th is not a perfect square factor, but I know x to the 4th is, because x squared times x squared is equal to x to the 4th. So if I'm thinking about x to the 5th, that's the same as x to the 4th times x to the 1st. Remember, when we're multiplying powers with the same base, we just add the exponents. So the perfect square factor here is x to the 4th and then times x to the 1st, or x. And denominator 6 has no perfect square factor, so we'll keep it there. All right, I'm going to take the square root of 16, and I'm going to take the square root of x to the 4th, which will give me 4x squared times what's left in the radical, 3x, all over the square root of 6. All right, great. Any perfect square factors under the radical, that's done. Fractions under the radical, that doesn't apply here. And finally, we're here, no radical in the denominator, and we have a radical in our denominator. So what I'll do here is I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the square root of 6. It's going to keep the fraction equivalent. And in the numerator, I'll have 4x, numerator, I'll have 4x squared times the square root of 3x times the square root of 6, all over the square root of 6 times the square root of 6. All right, we can multiply those radicals together. So 4x squared times the square root of 18x, all over the square root of 6 times the square root of 6, which is just 6. All right, next step is let's go back to the list. And I know now I have to see, does 18 have any perfect square factors? I know it does. 9. Scroll up a little bit. So 4x squared times the square root of 9 times 2 times x, all over 6. And the square root of 9 is 3. So that will give me 3 times 4, 12, times x squared times the square root of 2x over 6. And again, to get that 12, it was just 4 times the square root of 9, which is 3. All right, last step is looking for common factors. And I know 6 and 12 share a 6. So 6 goes into 6 once, 6 goes into 12 twice. And my final expression is 2x squared times the square root of 2x. And that is fully simplified.